It's Not Another Buffalo Podcast, hosted by three of the most underqualified sports personalities this side of the canal. With John.
There's no way in hell that I can leave that in, right?
You don't think so?
Well, to quote Rage Against the Machine, what better place than here? And, what better time than now?
And Brando.
We have this trust built on, whatever it is, like Bibles and gold bricks and whatever Brandon Bean's drinking over there.
All right, welcome back to Not Another Buffalo Podcast. I'm John. I'm here with my buddies Pat and Brando here on New Year's Eve, Tuesday. This episode will probably not come out until late afternoon tomorrow because I will be editing it on a plane. But hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. You can find us on all platforms at Not Buff Podcast. As always, our sponsor for this show is Small City Realty. You can contact our guy, Zach Korzelius, at 585-409-1088 if you are buying, selling, or need help managing property in Western New York. Our guy is Zach Korzelius, 585-409-1088. So, boys, it's been a couple weeks here. Obviously, we took Christmas week off because, I was flying all over the place. We got stuff to do. You guys have a good holiday here. Bills win. Can't complain.
Woo woo. Pat, I know you appreciate this because we were together. John, this is one of those things I wish you lived in the city for. 7 years ago, a day that will live in infamy, a night that will live in infamy. The Drought Breaker. The greatest, one of the greatest nights ever. Definitely. I was texting Nate about this, friend of the show. Mount Rushmore moment of our lives, I think, at that time. Great evening there. It's cool to see where we've come from since then as our savior brings us Josh Allen. And we are appreciative for him every day, every night. So Tyrod gets a standing ovation.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I saw him and Sean embracing towards the end of the game there. Little pat on the butt. Yeah. No,
could we see Rex Ryan and Tyrod Taylor heading up the New York Jets in 2025?
They'd probably lose less than 10 games.
Right?
So.
Definitely.
I mean, but wouldn't you sign up as a Bills fan for that, like today?
Yeah. I'd sign up for it as a Jets fan.
I was going to say, I'd sign up for Rex Ryan coaching anywhere. Maybe they can bring back Adam Gase. Remember those days? Yeah. Those were fun.
Well, that's what I mean. And it's so hard too. Like, I love Tony Romo. Like, but Tony Romo was like talking up Nate Hackett, like first quarter, first drive. And then he was like, he's just a team guy. He'll do whatever, it takes to win. And then by the end of the game, he's like, well, some of the play selection. So I was laughing. Definitely.
Tony's like, maybe I was too nice. Maybe I was too nice.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Right. Well, I saw something interesting that caught my eye, and I've been thinking about this for the last few years, but obviously it's a continuation this year as well. So the Bills have been the 2 seed. How many out of the last 5 years do you guys remember?
4.
4 out of the last 5 years since 2020. They've been the 2 seed.
When did the rule change that the 2 seed doesn't get the bye?
2020. The year that they first got the 2 seed. So since that rule has changed, a team that would have benefited from a first round bye 4 times. Now, granted, they haven't lost any of those wild card games, right? Like there has not been.
How many players? How many man games? Do you have this? Sorry, keep going.
How many man games? No, I don't have that.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting stat. No, we're not that advanced here on NABP. But that is high up on the bummer list for disadvantages and the era that you're in too, right? I think we'd also rank, Mahomes existing at the same time as Josh Allen in that same category, because
we can't open this can of worms because Mahomes could have been a Buffalo Bill, but it's fine.
I'm happy with how it worked out. I'm just saying, like in a universe where he doesn't exist, like Allen is the best player or maybe the second best player, depending on how you look at it, of the last 15 years in the NFL, right? And it's just at the same time that there's an equal out there, at least an equal.
The metaphor that I like with this, and you could spin it 2 ways. I've not heard it's been spun 2 different ways, but the first way is if you really want to be positive about the Bills, you could call Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs the Detroit Pistons to Michael Jordan's Bulls.
True.
Because Michael Jordan did get run out 4 years by the Pistons, maybe like 87, 88, 89. I don't know who they lost to in those early years. I know there was at least a couple for Isaiah Thomas.
And the Pistons demonstrating poor sportsmanship as well, sort of like those.
Hey, this is not a bad mouth of the Pistons. We are talking of a football reference here. Go Pistons. Woo. No, there's a lot of bad references to Pistons basketball if you watch the Bad Boys documentary, just, more recent history than that. But the other part about this, you can look at it, is those teams that the Bulls beat, Charles Barkley or Stockman and Malone, and these greats that Michael Jordan never let be iconic Hall of Famers, I guess. I mean, they're Hall of Famers, but Michael Jordan stopped them. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, to your point though, also, I mean, you have to think there's back-to-back champions in between that 2-year stretch where Michael takes off, right? So you have Hakeem Olajuwon and the Rockets winning their 2 right there. So I mean, maybe I guess to your point, that timing really is important. And maybe if Pat wanted to take 2 years off to pursue a baseball career or something, I think we could back-to-back it.
Right.
But everybody thinks less of him.
You have our
Everybody
support.
thinks less of Hakeem Olajuwon because he didn't win it with Jordan in the league. Like that's a huge asterisk on the Rockets championships.
I don't care. If we do it, If we do it, and Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson all twist their ankles week 18 and can't play for the playoffs, I don't care. Doesn't matter. But
I don't wish injuries on people, but I want them to know what it's like to lose massively critical players in round 1 or 2 of the playoffs. That's all I want for Kansas City. Just experience it. Play with the linebacker that you called off from vacation.
Yeah, there's probably some Kansas City fans out there who would say oh, they had none of their starting linebackers even played until the Super Bowl or something like that.
Patrick Mahomes ran 62 yards with a bum ankle in the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Right. Well, he's got
James Bradbury got torched for a horrible pass interference call. Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, can I ask you guys honestly, because I know how I feel about it. Are you guys kind of sick of the MVP debate at this point? Is it getting really old at this part of the season with people just ripping both players going back and forth? Or how do you guys feel? Pat, I know you probably, you're looking after your mental health. You're probably not spending as much time on Twitter as the rest of us, which is good.
I mean, I feel like there's some sort of geographical and socioeconomic bias that goes into it, and I feel like that's not something that should be brought into it. And I feel like a lot of the talking heads kind of lose focus of what the award is about. And also, I feel like they shouldn't give it at the NFL honors. I don't think the NFL honors should be a thing until after the Super Bowl. But
that's a good point too.
So just going to eliminate 14 teams worth of players. Well, no, it's 16 teams worth of players if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a hard time. I also think I'm still a little bit sour from DeMar Hamlin getting snubbed for comeback player of the year. At that point, I was like, what are we doing with NFL awards? This just seems
Joe Flacco went off, man. Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean, DeMar Hamlin came back from death and Joe Flacco came back from the Jets. I think that those are two
one might say the Jets are equal to death.
That's true.
Not to be insensitive to DeMar. But John, I think that this is a interesting conversation, but my view on it is I'm happy to have a bill in the discussion legitimately now.
It's the first time in my entire life, man, honestly. I guess 2020, Josh, which,
the second place finish for MVP to Aaron Rodgers, right?
Right.
So, and then even last year, stats or no stats, Allen should have been the MVP, but they gave it to the best player on the best team. But even if Allen didn't, Dak Prescott had more points than Josh Allen in the MVP voting. Allen was 5th on the list for votes because the second and the third place votes and fourth place votes, so they all count towards your total scoring of the award. So it's upsetting. He didn't get it last year. He's the most valuable player to his team this year, I think.
And he also is the quarterback of one of the highest seeds who's been playing well, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't have a 1,000-yard rusher or a 1,000-yard receiver as well, and he won't.
James Cook is close.
It depends on how much they play. But yeah, no, Pat, you're absolutely right, and that's something that we talked about at the beginning of the year. Is it we were I think Brandon and I were talking about, would you bet on this? There not being a 1,000-yard receiver or rusher on this team, and we were thinking receivers specifically, but the rusher part is surprising too, especially with how many touchdowns James Cook has, tied for OJ Simpson. Yeah.
Allen was tied for him last year. Right? He had 15 last year. And
OJ is 16.
Yeah, he didn't. No. OJ is 16, but Allen didn't get it last year. We were kind of on that watch for those bets. Remember, Allen touchdown. But the offensive output throughout the whole team is kind of interesting. Now, John, I kind of want to touch on this. This is what I was just talking to you about before the show. Vegas. We're going to talk about what does Vegas know that we don't know? Because on the beginning of the season, I said on this show, Josh Allen's over-under passing yards for the season was 3,750.5. And I said, maybe bet the mortgage on that. It's not financial advice, but I was pretty confident that was going to go over. Josh Allen currently has 3,731 yards. He needs 19 and a half yards to cash his season over prop. He will start. If you are Allen, do you call 2 deep bombs? You stay in for 2 plays and because say what you want, but like in the last game of the third quarter, they're up 28 points and Allen's still slinging it. So it matters a little bit to them if that's what they were doing. So if you're Allen,
but he was slinging it for the MVP conversation. He's not slinging it so you can cash your season-long prop.
No, but like for him in an MVP, maybe you get
race.
one completion for like 70 yards and a touchdown and you leave.
Yeah.
If that has an effect on the NFL, if that has a huge effect on how that award gets voted, I think we can say it's officially a broken system.
I'm just,
right?
say what you want. People see what they see on the last day of school, the last day of the year.
Recency bias is a huge part of it. It's 50 humans voting on it, and it's hugely narrative based too.
I have a crazy Vegas question though for you guys, because this team, right? So they're tied for most different players to catch a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
Right.
On a team in NFL history. So if it is broken, who do you think that 14th player would be? Does Vegas have any odds? Reggie Gilliam, Deion Dawkins,
offensive lineman would be my bet. But again, you could get a guy like I'm just gonna say, so Terrell Shavers is the guy who ran in the touchdown this past week, right? So are there any?
He caught the pass and ran.
Is KJ Hamler going to play this week? Like what? Who else is coming up from the practice squad to fill in some of those roles? I mean, Curtis Samuel has caught a touchdown this year. Yes. He has one. I'm trying to think of who else hasn't caught a touchdown. We did this for trivia a couple weeks ago.
There's even a bunch of Quentin Morris has a touchdown. Ray Davis has.
Right. Right.
So
Ty Johnson has a touchdown. All these guys.
But I feel like that's a stat in itself for the MVP conversation too. Sorry, Brandon, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. You're totally right on that. That'd be interesting to see if any sports books put odds out for other players to catch a touchdown against New England. And you were talking about Vegas again. You mentioned Curtis Samuel. That $23 that I bet on him to go over 750.
Yeah, you can
yards.
kiss that goodbye.
That's gone. But the $20 for Josh Allen, fingers crossed, 20 yards. I need it on Sunday.
That's crazy. $20 at the beginning of the year, and we're down to the wire. We're waiting for 19 yards to see if you can even get your $20 back plus another.
It pays out at 36. So yeah, so, 16.60.
$16 over the course of a season.
And 60 cents. Yes.
There you go. And 60. Sorry, my bad. I forgot the 60 cents. Yeah.
So I want to see it. I want to see Allen come out, fire one deep ball, and leave.
Just don't get rocked. Don't get rocked by a pass rush or something like that. I feel like they'd just throw short stuff for him if he was going to be in there.
Yeah, but it's Allen. Allen doesn't want to throw it short.
I know.
Go deep, buddy. Go deep. Did you see him? He took some hits against the Jets.
He did.
He had that one where the guy fell on the back of his leg and he contorted over his body.
Yeah.
And still almost completed the pass, which is crazy. That one where he's fallen. Yeah, Shakir should have had that one.
Which is that's another crazy thing that thank God they stopped bringing up was like, oh, his catch rate is, because I don't know, that's he's had some drops recently, but yeah.
He has,
And the other thing about it is you look at, he's still having an awesome season with his catch rate, but you look around the team and Dalton Kincaid's uncatchable ball percentage is north of 35%, which is by far the highest on the team. So you're looking at him and then you look at Cooper and Coleman. And Kincaid was a basketball player also, which nobody ever mentions it because whatever. So like something's up with that. I don't know. Maybe we see them rein it in and improve on those numbers. But just to have all these different weapons. Okay, you don't need all this yards from Kincaid. You don't need all these yards from Coleman, but you need them to come up in big moments 2 or 3 times a game, and they all have been doing it. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how other defenses prepare for us in the playoffs.
Well, I'm not looking forward to seeing that, but yes, I look forward to defenses looking unprepared against our offense.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking of, because it's like you see the Jags play man, get toasted. Yeah. The Patriots played a lot of man, but the Bills didn't, put a lot of stuff out there. But when you look at the options, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos, most likely Broncos, but this scenario for the Bengals is getting closer and closer and closer.
How nervous?
Give me the Dolphins
How
in
nervous
10
are you?
degrees.
I was so pissed. The Broncos blew that. I can't curse. Whatever. They blew the effing game, dude. Honestly, dude. I don't know. It just pisses me off. But
the funny part of you're good, Pat. The funnier part about it too is like the NFL's the way that they scheduled it. So basically,
this is stupid.
The Bengals need 3 things to happen. They need Miami to lose. They need the Broncos to lose, and they need to win versus the Steelers. They're playing the Steelers. The Browns playing the Ravens, I think, would be the other game. Yep. So anyway, basically one of those things that they need, the Steelers have seeding to play for. So the Steelers want to play for the division win. It's still between the Ravens and the Steelers. So basically, if they both win, the Ravens get the division. If the Steelers win and the Ravens lose, then Pittsburgh would take the division. But if the Ravens win, the division is already out of reach for Pittsburgh by the 4 p.m. window.
Yes.
So
they don't really
Pittsburgh
need to win.
might not have anything to play for by the time they're playing Cincinnati. And that's actually the most likely scenario because the Ravens are playing the Browns.
Yes.
So,
and Mike Tomlin did go on record in his interview and say he wants to cleanse the team of the feeling of the last 3 losses that they've had because they've lost a bunch in a row here. So
right.
Maybe that's, coach speak. We saw Dan Campbell be like, yeah, we're going to win this game and we're going to score 40 tonight.
That was so surprising. I had no idea why they did that. That must have just been because of the NFC Championship game last year.
Probably. Yes.
But
John, I have it here on DraftKings. If you parlay the Bengals to win,
actual odds,
the Chiefs to win, the Dolphins to win, to get the Bengals into the playoffs. The biggest underdog here is the Chiefs at plus 440 with Carson Wentz, former almost league MVP at quarterback. Miami Dolphins without a quarterback possibly, and the Bengals against the Steelers. So $5 pays out 90. It's plus 1701.
Well, with seeding, where would the Bengals end up in this scenario?
7 seed. That's the only. Yeah. So if the Bengals are in, they're coming to Buffalo. That's the only place they can go.
Honestly, man, it's just like it's just like you said though, John, earlier. If it's going to happen, we're just going to run the gamut. We'll just, you know what I mean? It's just
this is possibly the toughest road in either, and the NFC has a really tough set of games. I mean, you're going to have a wild card team with 14 wins. That's going to be the first time in history that's happened because of, Detroit and Minnesota. But if the Bengals make it in, which again is a big if because you need the Chiefs who are resting everybody to beat the Broncos who have everything to play for, which again, the 2004 Bills will let you know that it's not a guarantee that you're going to get the win, even if the other team is resting starters.
That's the other stat I would like to pull is how many teams played backups and lost. Cause I always think of the Bills and that iconic game I watched in a bar at Splash Lagoon at age 9. Vividly remember that game. And my dad being so pissed. What are you doing? What is happening?
Oh, that was rough. I remember that game too.
I feel like it happens more than
I was not at Splash Lagoon at that time, but
yeah, I wish you could have gone down the slide afterwards.
Head first. No, so anyway, obviously that's an unlikely scenario that Cincinnati makes it. But regardless of that, the most likely scenario that you're looking at for the Bills is still a tough road. Again, the worst case scenario is you go hosting Cincinnati, hosting Baltimore, and then at Kansas City for the AFC Championship game. That is a tough road. Those are 3 of the best quarterbacks, and those are the other 3 best quarterbacks in the world.
The other 3 best quarterbacks.
Those are the other 3 best quarterbacks in the world. Yeah, that's the challenge. And then if Denver makes it, then you're looking at hosting Denver, then same next 2 games, basically hosting Baltimore and then going to Kansas City.
So John, I have a little pushback on this because I think everybody is assuming we're getting this matchup with the Ravens. And the part about the Steelers game that plays a role in this is I believe if they lose, they go to Houston. And if they win, they go to Baltimore for the first round. I think that's their line to
that sounds right. I think that's right.
I'm not trying to go to Baltimore if I am Pittsburgh in the first round. Give me the Texans out of every other team in the playoffs throughout the whole league right now, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Now if it happens whatever. So the Steelers do their business, and then it's the Ravens against the Chargers. It's Harbaugh v. Harbaugh in I heard a story the other day. Which one's the older one for the Chargers, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. So that's John, and the other one's Jim.
No, Jim's
Jim
the older
Harbaugh's
one.
the Chargers coach. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and John is the Ravens.
The younger one. So Jim and John, I heard this in a podcast. Jim was talking. The older one and the younger one, they've had a few battles of sibling rivalryness over the years. And he's like, when they were in their 20s, maybe John just gets his first contract as a quarterback. So they all go on vacation and they're like wrestling at the beach. And John picks up Jim and is like drowning him right in the water. And he's like, Jim's like, oh, I thought he was going to let me up. And then he's like, then he wasn't letting me up. And then he lets me up again. And then he drowns me again. And he's like, at that moment, it was like, I thought I was going to drown. And I was like, my brother's angry right now. So eventually he comes up and he was like, there was no arguing over which brother was better at anything after that moment. And he was like, then 23 years later, he wins the Super Bowl, the younger brother. So it like flipped the script. But he was like, for 23 years, I had to think about my older brother almost drowning me at the beach in vacation. So, moral of the story is they play each other in the wild card round. And to think the Chargers could beat the Ravens is not crazy. And the Chargers almost did it once already. They lost by 7. So I think that game right there would be the most interesting, because then you got some movement in the standings. And I don't think every favorite always wins, right?
No,
Not every
yeah,
favorite
and that's true.
wins,
I actually mapped out what that path would look like, and it's actually listed as my easiest path. Like the biggest thing you could do is have the Chargers beat Baltimore first round. And again, this isn't locked in because Baltimore needs to win their game. We're just kind of assuming that they're going to. But again, playing those scenarios out where Pittsburgh is the 5 seed. All right, so before Brandon unplugged his mic, we were talking about...
Penny did it. The cat did it.
Yeah, that's his excuse every time.
They're mischievous little rascals.
Anyway, we're talking about easiest path to the Super Bowl for the Bills. One of the things that I had written down too, and this is only possible if the Chargers beat Baltimore first round of the playoffs. It would go Denver, then Pittsburgh, then really every scenario that I kind of sussed out. You're going to Kansas City for the AFC Championship. Like if you're winning, you have to win 2 playoff games to do it, but you're going to end up there. And I think they're just on a collision course unless we have some kind of disappointing loss in the divisional round or God forbid the wild card round. It's like, I don't think that there's any way after the way that we saw the Chiefs look on Christmas and then having 2 weeks of rest basically to get healthy, get right, and then hosting one playoff game to win to be in the AFC Championship, which they're going to host the lowest remaining seed, and it's not going to be Baltimore unless Baltimore somehow loses against the Browns this next week. It's just all looking like Kansas City. So Brandon, what were you going to say?
I think this could be worth a debate, whether or not it's valid or not. We will see. The Chargers and the Chiefs have played twice. Both
close games.
Both
right?
close games. 17-19 in December and 17-10 in September. And talk about hard paths. The Chargers would have a very difficult path if they make it through the Ravens and the Steelers and the Chiefs, right? That's basically inverted to what we would have to play if the Bengals coming in and Bengals and Ravens and Chiefs. So I don't think we should sleep on the Chargers. They played us pretty good last year. We forget they were a bad team, but the Harbaugh effect, he adds 5 wins to every team he's ever joined, which is cool stat. If you go back to his offensive assistant days in college, the teams that he goes to win more games when he's there. So I think that's worth watching. Justin Herbert, top 5. It's crazy. The top 5 quarterbacks in the league are arguably all in the AFC.
It's nuts. So it's nuts.
I think that there is a possible way for the Bills to host an AFC Championship game. Maybe it is unlikely, but Justin Herbert, let's see you eat your Wheaties, buddy. I want to see it.
Well, I mean, statistically speaking, you have this crazy record in 1-score games, but I mean, I guess like the fact that you're in so many 1-score games, it only takes 1 dud. So I don't know. It would be beautiful to see, but either way.
Yeah. A single elimination tournament, like you never know what you're going to get with the NFL playoffs. Like it just makes sense poetically that it would be the year that we all thought that like, okay, this is a reset year, right? That'd probably be the best story coming out of it. But I don't know. It's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be a wild ride regardless.
The thing that I might not be looking forward to, and I'm only going to talk about it for 30 seconds because I don't want to waste time on it, is whichever team hypothetically bounces the Bills, whether if it is Joe Burrow or it is Lamar Jackson or it is Mahomes again, I don't want to hear it all year round about how much better their quarterback is than Josh Allen's. I don't want to hear it.
I could not do it. Like if it like, okay, this is terrible hypothetical, but who would you sign up for to bounce the Bills from the playoffs? Like if you had to choose, they're going to lose.
What?
Chargers?
I mean, Ravens. I mean, that's recency bias, but cannot. The Chargers run the ball really well too. I mean, yeah, I guess it's a team that runs the ball well. That's pretty much every team.
I guess the
AFC playoff picture.
If you're really getting into the nitty gritty, I feel like Brandon, your answer to the Chargers is pretty good too, because it's like you could just say the Bills had a fluky game, right? Or we'd have to deal with the Bills never show up in the playoffs narratives and that kind of thing, which I think would still be more tolerable than the Bills will never beat Mahomes in the playoffs, or the Bills will never beat Joe Burrow in the playoffs, or Lamar is better than Josh Allen, or anything like that. So, which again, I'm not trying to have that debate now that Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson or anything like that. I think they're both amazing players who are perfect for their teams, but that would get pretty exhausting. And I can't do the Chiefs again. I absolutely cannot. It's too many years in a row like that. And to be coming back and doing the same old spiel for the same offseason again and again and again. That's good. That would wear on everybody for sure. But
I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, no, let's not think about it. All right, let's get a Sabres update in here, Brando.
It's time for the weekly Sabres update.
Speaking of some good news, so the Sabres have won 3 in a row, right?
3 in a row, guys. We are on a win streak, and
right,
we are.
So where are we in the standings now? That we
last in the East. We're last still.
Still
last.
This has been your weekly Sabres update.
Last place.
Cool.
In the
Awesome.
East. Yeah.
Love that.
Rasmus Dahlin is back again, even though he has a bad back, and he's the NHL's second star of the week after missing all this time. Comes in and gets 4 assists in a game, I believe. In one, he set some record. Maybe it's 4 assists in a period. I don't know exactly what it is. Don't quote me on it. But he came back. Sabres started winning. Crazy that, right? We do have a generational player on the Sabres. His name is Rasmus Dahlin. He's awesome, but gets overshadowed. He'll win a cup somewhere else. That's it. So
I can't emotionally invest in the Sabres right now. I might have to throw myself into it if the Bill season comes to a tumultuous end at any point, but
it won't. All right.
It won't. It won't. That's right. I mean, on the flip side of all this, we're really it always seems so far away because of the way the season is developing, but we're how many games right now? So 1, 2, 3, 4. We have potentially 4 Bills games left before
Hopefully.
a potential Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. This next one barely counts.
A month.
Yeah.
A month.
Yeah.
We've got a month until, we might be talking about the greatest thing this city has seen in 25, 30 years. Right.
The 0506 Sabres might have a say in it.
I was going to go back to the 99 Sabres. I was doing math. Right. But yeah, it's fun to think about. It's fun to think about making plans with you guys for it and dropping everything that's in front of us just to go see.
So let me ask you guys
special,
this. I mean, and this is a horrible hypothetical, and I'm knocking on wood as I'm saying it, but say that they do make it to the big one, would you consider attending? I mean, I know the ticket price has got to be at least $3,000, but is there a scenario in which
probably not?
You would.
Probably not the big game, but I'm definitely I want to go walk through Radio Row before.
That'd be pretty sick.
That'd be fun. Hey,
that
guys,
would be that would be sick. Even if you just were there and tailgated the game at the venue. Honestly,
I'd want to be in the city for the game. I think there's too many of you guys here to we would. This is such a nightmare for me. It makes me super anxious to be where can we rent a place to watch a game with 30 people? Right. Where do you go? What do you do for that? And that's a good problem. We'll figure it out when it happens. So, I'm thinking of a conference room at a hotel, right? A Holiday Inn conference room. Give me that one. So put a big 70-inch TV up in there.
I mean, infrastructure wise, do you think you're part of the city? And like I said, once again, these are hypotheticals. I mean, honestly, worst case scenario, let's say we get in the Super Bowl and some bullshit happens and whatever, Sean Hockley says, all right, you know what, Rasul Douglas, I know that you just, stopped the Chiefs on 4th and 10 with 17 seconds left, but you look, oh my God, I took my glasses off and you look like James Bradbury for a second there, and I'm just gonna toss the Chiefs the W. Like, so either that we lose on some bullshit in the Super Bowl, or we win the Super Bowl. I mean, can the city's infrastructure handle that? Especially your place, Brando. I mean, you're right.
No, my house is like super old. Yeah, they would do the parade right down my street on Delaware. I believe that's the route for this hypothetical, because Delaware runs to City Hall. So no, this house is super old. All the houses are pretty old. The amount of potholes in the street, I wouldn't want to see one of these trucks holding the players on the top of them. We're getting a pothole, hitting the pothole and get a flat tire like I did on Delaware. Whatever. City Buffalo.
That's what I'm thinking. Loads of drunken folks knocking stuff over, win or lose. It would be crazy.
Hey, if Philly handled it, we can handle it. Philly did barely handle it. I was in Philly the weekend. I got to Philly the Thursday after the Monday or the Sunday night football. Like I was there that weekend of the Super Bowl right after in college, and it was still such a disaster. I mean, we're talking 4 days after the Super Bowl. It's just a mess. Like this is cool. This is cool.
If you had to pick right now, no, emotions aside, you have to put $200 down on predicting the outcome of the Bill season right now. What do you pick? Most likely outcome.
Losing Kansas City.
Oh, that hurt. Look at Pat's face.
It hurts me. It hurts me to say it. Until they do it in Kansas City in the playoffs, that's my answer.
Yeah, well, you got to think though too. Brandon and I want to make sure our money's going the farthest that it can go. It doesn't mean that we don't believe in the Bills. It's just we're trying to make
emotional hedge aside.
It takes me a long time to make the $200, man. So
I don't know. So that's the best thing I can come up with. I don't know, like some kind of punishment if you got the prediction wrong to incentivize you to just do what your head thinks and not what your heart feels like on it. So I don't know. I think I could convince myself that it's like it's too early to talk about. I don't want to jinx it, but I think it could be the year. I don't know. It's just the way that Kansas City looks right now. I think they're beatable. I think they are. And how many times? I mean, I know it's been the regular season wins, but like last time we played them in the playoffs, we should have won that game, right? Just the linebackers. If you head in healthy, I think the only thing that derails this is injuries. I think Joe Brady's been holding back.
Yeah, and a Tyler Bass kick.
That too. I think Joe Brady's been holding back scheme.
This is another one, bro.
I think Joe Brady's got something saved for the playoffs. I think the Bills are going to get into shootouts, and I think the Bills offense is going to score 30 plus points a game every single playoff game. Like, I'm feeling good about it. And also, like, think about all these weeks without Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid. Offense still ran fine.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So,
and I mean, what's the over/under snap count in a game for Micah Hyde in the playoffs? 10?
It might be 0.5. Like
2 on Hail Mary plays.
No, he's gotten burned on the Hail Mary. I don't want him out there. Give me nobody on a Hail Mary. Just don't get into that situation. I was watching highlights back, guys, of this. Maybe it was Justin Herbert at the Chargers game, and he completes a Hail Mary pass, but it gets tackled at the 2-yard line. And this maybe COVID year, maybe Justin Herbert's a rookie. Maybe his last year. I don't remember. But it was like almost another one. And it was just in a blob of people. And I was like, why does nobody remember this? I don't remember this happening. And I'm like, oh, God. It's so close to happening again.
Ugh. Yeah, let's not think about it. But anyway, coming back to where we are right now, in a good spot. Rest of the starters. Anything specific we want to see this week? Josh take one snap and head off the field. Maybe get 19 yards on one throw for Brando. That's about it, right?
Please get 20 yards. Just do it for me, man. Yeah.
Pat, what about you? Are you frozen? Uh-oh, Pat's frozen. All right. Well, you guys got anything left before we kind of roll it out here?
New Year's resolutions?
For the Bills or for us?
For us.
For us? Prep for the podcast more often? I don't know.
Win more bets.
Win more bets. That's a good one. Yeah. Pat, you got anything? All right. Pat's having trouble, but sorry, Pat, you're kind of lagging a little bit, but we can't hear you.
Something good was about to say.
Say it again, Pat.
Buy a new computer.
All right. There it is.
There
That's
it is.
a good one.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this one up before we experience more delays from a live reporter in North Korea. That's how this feels. You can find us on all platforms at Not Buff Podcast. As always, also, if you need a realtor in Western New York, Zach Korzelius at Small City Realty, 585-409-1088. He is the best. He will make all the phone calls. He's the best.
He's good.
585-409-1088. Everyone knows Zach in Batavia. But all right, we'll be back next week. Higher quality podcast. I promise I won't be on the road next week, so we'll be kind of back to the normal situation. But
Yes.
all right, week 18. Here we go, boys. Next week we will be getting ready for the wild card game, and it's playoff time. So anything can happen. All right, go Bills.
Go Bills.